welcome to 3 Con Commentaries. Oh boy. This did not feel like an episode of Smackdown. Instead, it felt like a clip show. And nothing happens. Just nothing happens. So we're going to go through Smackdown, but going through Smackdown, we're going to use WWE Backlash predictions as a way to review Smackdown and do predictions in one show without me having to do another show. How about that? All right, so we're going to do Smackdown review plus a prediction show. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to start first with the first match from WWE Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash. Ooh, that hefty name. Happy Corbin versus Madcap Moss. So did they build up Happy Corbin versus Madcap Moss on this show? They did. There was a Happy Talk segment, and everybody knows how much I love my Happy Talk segments. I can't find it on the paper. I love it so much. So Corbin was getting in the ring, and the moment he gets in the ring, Madcap Moss interrupts and starts making jokes. He says that he's a very generous guy because he's let tattoo artists try out their worst ideas on his arms. Then he says that Corbin looks like a Hot Topic threw up on his chest. There were good attempts at humor. I just still didn't think it was funny. I laughed mostly out of embarrassment than anything. Corbin says that he didn't have the nerve to say that stuff to his face, which of course he does. He comes out to say it to his face. Again, he's still wearing the same get-up that he was wearing before. It got the same music that he had before. It's absolutely awful. He said, Madcap Moss then says that Corbin has been through a lot of phases, and he went through them. The sheriff, or was it constable, the lone wolf, or whatever. It says that maybe your next phase will be actually entertaining. How about you try being entertaining? Then it says he should go back to trying to being the lone wolf, but wolves have hair. Then says, gets the crowd to start chanting about Corbin being bald. It was absolutely stupid. Corbin just says, enough. I've had enough of this stupidity. And he walks off. I cannot believe this is a pay-per-view quality match. I don't believe this is a pay-per-view quality match. Of all of the people not featured on this card, they put Madcap Moss versus Happy Corbin on this card. Unless one of these motherfuckers is about to get hit with an 18-wheeler, this match did not need to be on the pay-per-view at all. And I feel bad for people who are paying tickets to see this shit. This match is not pay-per-view quality. It's garbage. Right? Garbage. Moss is going to win. And nobody will care because it's not over. The character isn't over. And it's just plain sad. So, let's just do all the SmackDown matches so I can go ahead and get through this. All right, SmackDown Women's Champion, Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. So Charlotte started the show. She was supposed to be wrestling Aaliyah. She said she got screwed last week because Aaliyah clearly gave up. And then if you watch the clip, Aaliyah didn't submit. She didn't say anything. The match stopped when the bell rang. Charlotte then blamed Drew Gulak for this. Drew Gulak had a hell of a night. He says that she will make Ronda quit and she's going to make Ronda cry like her own little baby. And she's going to get her out of WWE. Then she says she's going to pretend Aaliyah is Ronda Rousey in this match. And then told Aaliyah to come hither by calling her Ronda. Aaliyah stupidly actually listens to Charlotte and actually comes closer and gets snuffed. Oddly enough, it was Pat McAfee that made the great call that, her name's not Ronda. Why is she listening to Charlotte? Why? It's so dumb. Aaliyah gets beat up, and Ronda Rousey comes out there to make the save, and we get this elongated pull-apart brawl that just went on forever. So Ronda and Charlotte, they did a pull-apart. It wasn't good. The positive thing is that as Charlotte was whipping Aaliyah's ass, she kept telling Aaliyah to quit, and Aaliyah kept saying no. So it's showing that she's tough. She might not be the world's most badass babyface, but she's not a quitter. She ain't willing to just give up on her dreams. She's not going to give up on her dreams. All right. So they've been spending weeks upon weeks building up this Charlotte Ronda Rousey thing. And the match itself ought to be fine. I don't see how this ends in any way other than Ronda winning the title. So Ronda's going to win the title unless we do some kind of sneak shit and Ronda doesn't win because she can't answer the bell or something like that, and the referee is forced to stop it, which would be a unique way of getting out of the I Quit feud. But it is what it is, I guess. But obviously Charlotte is going to quit. She's going to give it up. Ronda is going to become the new champion. It only makes sense. There's really nowhere for Charlotte to go. Even if she beats Ronda, where does she go from here? The only other person there is now is, like, I guess, a returning Lacey Evans. But we'll talk about Lacey Evans when we get to the deeper into the video. So I truly, if my prediction is that Charlotte Flair will lose the title to Ronda Rousey, and we'll be needing to build up new contenders for Ronda because they've actually destroyed all of the heels. There's simply no heels. So I'm guessing they're probably going to have to borrow somebody, or we're about to get Bayley back. So, we don't have any options here. If, everybody remaining, they've absolutely tattered the heel division of the SmackDown women's side. All right, let's go. What's the next SmackDown match? I'm guessing you could count Drew McIntyre and RK McBro, as they're calling themselves now, versus Roman Reigns and the Usos. So throughout the night, there was these small, short promos that was about this match, and it was all just generic, nothing over the top, nothing big. The Usos says that their time is done. Their time for talking is done. They're going to be wearing new snakeskin boots. RK Bro said, Riddle, because the Usos made a joke earlier about him putting his foot in his mouth. He said he doesn't put his feet in his mouth. That's disgusting, but he don't judge what other people do. Randy then says that the Usos have been yapping for weeks, and the Usos need to focus on being in the ring with the three most dangerous letters in sports and entertainment, which is RK Bro. Drew McIntyre says that the Bloodline likes to trash talk, but they're not going to trash talk on his watch. He's the one who coined the term RK Bro. So then we get to the final RK McBro. I'm sorry. Then we get to the final segment of the evening, which is the face-to-face segment. And this is essentially RK Bro and Drew McIntyre doing a childhood game. And they're basically just saying, what is all these things that you would like to acknowledge? Riddle starts with that Randy is his best friend. Acknowledge. Of course, they acknowledge that. Randy. They acknowledge that he still has handprints from Drew McIntyre smacking him in the chest when he won the WWE title from him. McIntyre says that Randy Orton kicked him in the head, but he won the title back. They all had to acknowledge that. Riddle then says that Randy has the most muscular legs in WWE, and while Drew's are thicker, Randy's are more vascular. Of course, they acknowledge that. The Usos are ass kissers. They acknowledge that too. It was an absolutely silly segment that did not feel like a closing segment to this show. I don't think this brought in any heat whatsoever. I just don't see how this thing, benefited this match at all, period. We were better off just doing a show that was completely separate from WrestleMania Backlash that didn't involve any of these people, because none of this was good. The promos were not good. The acknowledged segment was not good. It was not good. All right. It was not good. It sucked. Roman and the Usos came out there, and for the first time probably in literally forever, the heels attacked the baby faces head up in a street fight. And then, of course, Roman and the Usos got beat up and fled to end the segment. So it was a stare down. They did the face-to-face. They exchanged punches and a couple of moves, and then Roman and the Usos fled. Wow, what a waste of time this was. This was an absolute waste of time. I know that WWE has decided that, the NBA playoffs are on, so they don't give a fuck anymore. They kind of they have that attitude. But my God, bro, what was the point in even bringing Roman even out there at this point? So, as far as predictions for WrestleMania Backlash, the match itself, what do I think is going to happen? I forget who said this. I think it might have been Don Tony, where they said this may be the match that Roman takes his first pinfall loss in. That the only reason you would do this match is if you're going to have Roman get pinned by Drew McIntyre. Now, there was a lot of chitter-chatter about another thing. We'll talk about that. As a matter of fact, let's talk about it right now. Shinsuke Nakamura. Now, Shinsuke Nakamura was brought back to WWE TV. He had been gone for 2 weeks. He came back to say that he did not forget that the Bloodline injured his friend and almost injured him, and that he will not forget. Hall monitor Sami Zayn was eavesdropping on the conversation. And all of a sudden, here comes Sami Zayn to Roman Reigns' locker room to tell Paul Heyman that Nakamura was talking trash. Heyman says that Roman appreciates Sami Zayn after Sami Zayn says that he's going to handle the Nakamura thing himself as a way to get his respect back, because he lost his respect at WrestleMania, and he's on a mission to get that respect back, and he considers himself to be a locker room leader, even though he acknowledges Roman Reigns as his tribal chief. So he goes off to Adam Pearce and tells Adam Pearce, look, Adam Pearce, I want to have a match with Shinsuke Nakamura next week. Adam Pearce says, what about right now? And Sami Zayn was like, oh, wait a minute. What do you mean? And the match ended up happening eventually. So Sami Zayn wins via countout. And a lot of people are kind of like, whoa, I thought Seth Nakamura was supposed to be wrestling Roman in the yada yada, the blah 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 blah. And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Now, with Nakamura being in this situation, they've teased Nakamura and Roman more than once. I don't know why the match keep getting teased and then not actually occurring. Now, Nakamura and Zayn had a good match. Sami Zayn wins. He didn't just beat him clean, pinned him in the middle of the ring. It was an underhand, cheap victory and it was funny because Pat McAfee made the joke that Sami Zayn's new finisher is running away. And this led to the count out because as Sami Zayn was trying to run away, Nakamura stopped it, only to get booted in the head and counted out. So it's almost like, why just stop him? Should just let him run. So a lot of people are taking Nakamura's loss as being, well, he's obviously not on the track to beat Roman. He's not going to beat Roman, and everybody knows that. What I'm thinking they're doing is they're just kind of putting Nakamura in a stopgap feud until the Roman thing can happen. And they're kind of just taking their time with this. And because you got to heat the guy back up. I mean, Nakamura is not seen as being a top singles guy in WWE right now. And to be quite honest, neither is Drew McIntyre. So that's why I'm looking at this situation, even though Drew McIntyre hasn't been losing matches, I can see Drew McIntyre as being the guy who, in this 6-man tag, could pin Roman and solidify himself as a top contender. I'm not sure where Money in the Bank will be. If his Money in the Bank is going to be in some kind of stadium or something like that, I can see them maybe going with Drew McIntyre versus Roman and Money in the Bank, which I think would probably end up being the best case scenario anyway. Speaking of which, we probably should do a video speculating on who's going to win the Money in the Bank this year, because I think that there are absolutely nobody being built up for that kind of honor, male or female at this point. But we'll get there eventually. So Nakamura, who is supposedly in the running according to the dirt sheets to wrestle Roman Reigns, if he does wrestle him, he's not going to win. So I'm not too concerned with that. But I do believe that Drew McIntyre probably could get a pinfall victory on Roman Reigns in this match that would make him the top contender. He would be the first guy to pin Roman in over a year. And if he's the first guy to pin Roman in over a year, that would skyrocket Drew McIntyre and make his match a lot more interesting with Roman. Now, here's the question. Do you have Roman lose 6-man tag? He's the one who gets pinned. Some people will say, no, that's not what I would do. Save his first pinfall loss being for the title in a situation where he gets pinned and he loses the title. Because if he loses to Drew McIntyre in a 6-man tag, then we kind of figure he's not going to lose the title when they wrestle. Newsflash, he probably wasn't going to lose the title anyway. So I'm not too concerned about that. But I think they probably should do it. I think they should have Drew McIntyre be the guy who pins Roman. And at least he'll have something. He's the first guy to pin Roman Reigns in over, 500 days or something like that. That would be something, a little feather in his cap. He's probably not going to win the title. I think they kind of had that earmarked for Cody. But that's a nice little feather in his cap. It'll bring a tremendous amount of heat and believability to a Roman Drew McIntyre match at Money in the Bank. And I think that would be far more interesting. That would make that match a lot more interesting than, McIntyre going into a match with Roman kind of cold. So I'm going to go with RK Bro and Drew McIntyre winning via Drew McIntyre actually pinning Roman Reigns. That's far out, but I'm going to go with that. Now, the other matches are pretty much Raw matches. Bobby Lashley versus Omas. I believe Omas should probably win this match just to show the significance of MVP being involved in Omas's business now. If Omas loses again, even with MVP, you have to ask the question, what the point of putting in with the MVP? Yes, it's 50-50 booking. No, nobody really is going to care. Omas is a giant. If MVP cheats, we can get over it, and then they can do a third rubber match on TV of some probably a cage match or something like that, which could be interesting. The next match you have, the only match left. Oh no, there's 2 matches left. AJ Styles versus Edge. Damian Priest is barred from ringside. This match is going to be tremendous, and I think everybody sees it coming that Finn Balor is going to eventually turn on AJ Styles. And I think one of the things when it comes to Finn Balor is that his character has been so focused on his past that, all the titles he's won, but he's been talking a lot about how his heart isn't in it. And I think this is a great catalyst for, Edge's new character, as far as him collecting people who are sort of wayward souls. Individuals who could be doing so much better, but they've been weakened by something, distractions. And I think they've been telling this story for a while now with Rhea Ripley. And I think, the story with Rhea Ripley is similar to the Edge's story, similar to Damian Priest's story. And I think Finn Balor has a similar situation where Finn Balor has never been a heel on the main roster. And he wasn't technically really a heel in NXT. He was fighting baby faces, but I don't think you were supposed to boo him. I think he was just kind of a miserable bastard. He doesn't necessarily have to be a heel. So I think that Finn Balor will turn on this night on WrestleMania Backlash? I think it would be better for him to do it here. And therefore you can avoid the 50-50 booking of AJ beating Edge. Even though I am 100% okay with AJ beating Edge and then getting a third match. I'm fine with that. AJ Styles beat John Cena. So I'm okay with AJ Styles beating Edge. All right. But I think that, the nice little nod it could be of Damian Priest not being there, but Finn Balor is. And I like the idea of Finn Balor and AJ Styles as a tag team for a short run. And I think we should probably put off the turn. Yes, the turn should happen, but I think we should wait for the turn. I don't think the turn should just happen immediately. Let it fester. Let it build a little bit. Let AJ really think that they're buddies. Give him a fair shot. Fair shot, AJ wins maybe. However you want to do that. And then they're going to have the third match at Money in the Bank. And then Finn Balor turns. Maybe they tease Edge and Damian Priest versus AJ Styles and Finn Balor at Money in the Bank. But that's the match where Balor turns heel. And he turns on AJ, crushes him in the ring, and it ends up being 3-on-1. And then we go into SummerSlam. The SummerSlam feud is AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. I think that's what we should be doing. That sounds more interesting to me. I think we should let the two most prominent leaders of the Bullet Club have their thing for a little while. And as a tag team, maybe sell some merchandise if you can. I'm pretty sure you can whip up some, bullshit Bullet Club gear if you want to. They did it with Jericho and Styles that one time for that short run that they had. Whip up some uh, AJ Club or gear or whatever the fuck, and sell that stuff. Let them make a couple of bucks off of that. A couple of weeks teasing this tag team match, and then in the tag match itself, Balor turns heel, fucks AJ. They all three walk away. And so Edge is now done with AJ Styles. He's beaten him 3 times. AJ has lost, to Edge, or Edge lost to Edge twice. However that would go. He's lost to Damian Priest. He's also beaten Damian Priest. So just everybody beating everybody in this situation. But now Finn Balor is the problem. And now we go into Finn Balor versus AJ Styles into the summer. I like that idea. And then maybe we do something else with Edge. I don't know who he will work with. And something says maybe Cody. Maybe, I don't know. Depends on how we do this whole Money in the Bank thing. But in any event, I like the idea of Balor turning heel. But I want the tag team with him and Styles for a while, just for the great visual, and to continue trolling the New Japan audience who thinks that Balor and AJ is a response to something that they were doing in some bullshit show in the middle of nowhere. It's like fucking Bullet Club never goes away in Japan. It never fucking goes away. So it's not like it's some resurgence of the Bullet Club. Like, where did they go? The resurgence was bringing in Juice Robinson. Come on, man. Let's move on. Okay, before I get my blood pressure all riled up. In the last match, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. I think this match is going to be fantastic. This is going to be a work rate show. This is going to be a great work rate match. And Styles and Edge is going to be a great work rate match. The 6-man tag is going to be a great work rate match. But Cody and Seth Rollins, I think it's pretty obvious here. We're going to go with Cody winning again, and then Seth is going to snap. And he's probably then going to go from being laughing, joking, Seth Rollins, to him trying to murder Cody Rhodes. And I'm thinking that's the direction we're going to go in. I don't see the point in having Cody lose. I don't see that point. So I wouldn't beat him here. I would have him win in a unconventional way. Small package, roll up, something like that. Good wrestling move after a good long wrestling match. That proves he's the better wrestler, but doesn't completely eliminate Seth. So it's not like Seth is going to get hit with a bunch more crossroads and pinned. It would be something slick, a slick roll up. Then something Seth can argue about and debate. And we use that to up the ante so that Seth Rollins can snap and want to do horrible things to Cody, maybe put him on the show for a while so Cody won't be in the Money in the Bank match. That way we can avoid that whole Money in the Bank shit and putting that thing on Cody, which I know is tempting for people to do. I wouldn't do that personally. I think Cody's character needs to have the long, winding road to the title and not some hot shot. He has the briefcase. I don't like that. So maybe have Seth Rollins, quote unquote, injure Cody in a way where Cody has to fight back from underneath. And we can spend some time with Cody rebuilding and returning at another pay-per-view event for the third match, what would be, Hell in a Cell maybe? How about that? Let's try that. I don't know when Hell in a Cell is, but let's say that's after Money in the Bank, or whatever pay-per-view, they would have that you can do a gimmick match on. And then that'd be the blow-off for the feud. That's kind of how I would do things. That's very old school. Yes, it's Seth Rollins losing twice. But so what? Seth Rollins is bulletproof. He can lose a bunch of times, and he'll be same laughing, joking. Visionary! Revolutionary! Same shit all over again, right? It's not going to make that much of a difference. All right, so those are my WrestleMania Backlash predictions. I'm going to go with Madcap Omas, AJ Styles, RK McBro, Ronda Rousey, and Cody Rhodes. Now, let's get into the rest of SmackDown. So, the rest of SmackDown features Sasha Banks losing to Shayna Baszler. Sasha Banks is losing a lot all of a sudden. They said Naomi had an injured arm, like an injured rotator cuff. So she was wearing like an armband across her entire arm. I don't know if that's how rotator cuffs work. Maybe. It could be. After the match, Natalya and Shayna Baszler jumped Naomi and Sasha. Naomi and Sasha fought them off, so 50-50 booked it. Makes no sense. I wouldn't have done that. Sasha taking a lot of losses. I'm not tripping though. I saw the video of Sasha popping up at that school. It was pretty sweet. It's always nice to see them doing stuff like that, and being visible and making a difference. Always good to see them make a difference in the lives of the youth. Drew Gulak, he made an appearance. Drew Gulak, they ran down all the Drew Gulak's mini jobs. And now he's back in the ring where he belongs. And they built it up as he was wrestling a mystery opponent. As soon as I saw he was going to be wrestling a mystery opponent, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be Gunther. And that's exactly who it was. It was Gunther. Gunther absolutely mauled Drew Gulak. It was fun. Drew Gulak actually got some strikes in, but Gunther actually mauled him. Pat McAfee put over Drew Gulak saying that he was one of his mentors. And we got a completely unnecessary USA chant at Gunther. We're turning him. It's not WWE at this point. It is. All they did was have the guy be introduced in German. Like, that was all they did. The audience took over from there and started chanting USA at this guy. But whatever, it works. I like they now have Kaiser doing the ring announcement that he won too. So that was pretty good. I didn't mind this. Tables match, Sheamus and Ridge Holland defeat the New Day. Kofi jumping on Sheamus has been going on for 15 years. There's tons of matches of Kofi leaping in the air and falling on Sheamus through various objects. This match was a barricade, which was a pretty cool spot. It looked like it hurt like hell because there's no way to fall on that thing from a high height, and it feels good. I like the traditional trust fall that Kofi did out there too. That was pretty sweet. Butch, our boy Butch, made an appearance. He was under the ring. He came out to save, I think it was Sheamus that he saved. And Ridge Holland and Sheamus with a double spine buster through the table to Xavier Woods. Hopefully this thing is finally fucking over. And we don't have to ever watch these guys wrestle again. Much as I love Sheamus and the boys, I just got sick of them wrestling, New Day. I just got sick of it. I was fucking sick of it. Let's see. Lacey Evans. She finished her chapter, her story on this show. And she started out very dark, talking about how her father OD'd before her WWE tryout. And all the many suicides, attempts, and overdoses that she faced while she was going through her training. She said she did all of this to make her family proud. And that for her first match, she was broken and defeated. Somebody else had gone through some more tragedy. But for the first time, she didn't drop everything and run to see what she could do. She said it was her time. It was her power to break the cycle. And so she finished her first match and she felt fantastic doing so. And said that, what are these WWE superstars going to do to me that life hasn't already done? He said they cannot bring me down. She once again ran down all the things that she's been, daughter, wife, mother, Marine, and now soon to be SmackDown Women's Champion. So they did a really oddball thing here is right after they, this chapter 5 popped out of here, they said, well, Lacey Evans is about to come out to ringside. And they're like, there's been a very touching and emotional story of Lacey Evans. So can we all show her the proper respect? And they played her new theme song, which had the military drums in it, which I knew they were going to change her theme song because it makes sense. So she's basically Girl Sergeant Slaughter now, which is what we kind of figured was going to happen. And she comes out babyface. She's wearing camouflage pants. They kind of almost Lita-ish, where they're kind of hanging out. You can still see her hips. And she's a babyface, and the crowd reacts, good. It wasn't fantastic. It wasn't, supremely over the top. The Lacey Evans story was very polarizing for some people. It also went on for a month, So I think that the introduction was pretty awkward because it made the way that the young lady, I forget her name, did the introduction. She made it seem like it was Lacey Evans saying, "Stand up and show me some respect," instead of it, saying that the company would like for you to stand up and show some respect. Like the babyface character does not say, "Stand up and show me respect." That's not really how we would do things. I would have said, can we all stand up and show Lacey Evans, this is her big return to SmackDown, show her some love or whatever. And she just came out there to pose and blow kisses, and that was about it. She didn't do anything else. They didn't introduce any heels or, anything like that. So, Lacey Evans is back. That's fine. I don't have a problem with Lacey Evans being back. The problem is there's no heels. Like, who is she going to fight? There's no heels. They've decimated the heel side of the roster, so who's she going to fight? They're going to have to call somebody up, I guess. Or Shotzi? Zaya? I don't know what they're going to do. Hell, they fired half the women's roster, and, the rest of them are in limbo. So who knows what the fuck is going on. But at least Lacey Evans looks good. She doesn't look like shit. So this is great. Problem is, what is she going to do now? I guess Sonya Deville's still there. She's a loser, but I guess she's still there. She's still present. So it is what it is. SmackDown was nothing. The pay-per-view doesn't have a strong card, but it should be a pretty good work rate show. AJ Styles and Edge always down for that, and always down for Cody and Seth Rollins. But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.
Tell me what's worse than learning all that you led to believe was all horse crap. They distort so questions